Good morning. Today is Monday, May 11th, 2020. One of the hotspots of the coronavirus in the US, one of the populations that is Nebuch being very seriously hit, is the Navajo Nation and the Choctaw tribe. Those populations are showing a very high percentage of cases and deaths. And there are a number of factors that are unfortunately obvious that lead to that. There's a very high level of diabetes. There are many homes that do not have running water. There are many homes where several generations and large numbers of people are living together in very close proximity. So they're being very hard hit. So a fundraising effort started recently to help them. And so far, that fundraising effort has raised over $1.8 million US for the Choctaw tribe. And what's interesting is most of that money has come from people in Ireland. Now, when I learned about this, it seemed to me kind of an unusual relationship between the Choctaw tribe in the US and people in Ireland. But there's an amazing story behind it. And the story goes like this. In 1831, the United States government forcibly relocated the Choctaw tribe and many others from the southeast part of the U.S. into the mid and western and northern areas and forced them on a march of thousands of miles, and it's known as the Trail of Tears. Thousands of people from that population died along the way in 1831. Just a few years later, the Irish potato famine became very, very serious. The Irish potato famine was one of the first natural disasters to receive worldwide attention because of the growth of news being shared worldwide. Before that, it really wasn't possible. So it was one of the first events that people learned about, a disaster that people learned about as it was going on. And in 1847, so that's just a few years after the Trail of Tears, in 1847, members of the Choctaw tribe gathered and collected $170, which is the equivalent today to about $5,000 US, and they sent it to the people of Ireland to help with the famine. And they specifically made a point of saying, we have just gone through this terrible, terrible catastrophe. We know what it's like to suffer. You're going through something similar in certain respects, and we want to help you. And even though we have almost nothing, and we just haven't even gotten through our own trauma, we want to at least share something. And they donated this $170 in 1847. And that gift was never forgotten by the people of Ireland. In 2017, so that's just a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, a sculpture was dedicated in Middleton, Ireland, commemorating the generosity of the Choctaw back in 1847. So this relationship has gone on all this time. And as a result of that, when a call went out for help for Choctaw, the people of Ireland remembered. They remembered what the Choctaw people had done especially under those difficult circumstances, and they have been at the forefront of this effort. It's an amazing example of how a terrible experience, a tragic and horrendous traumatic experience, can lead a person or a group to a higher level of empathy. And then once that happens, it starts to change the dynamics of every other group, because when you receive that, you then reciprocate. And this is an opportunity in many different ways. I'm not just talking about fundraising, but in many different ways. We who are going through a trauma now, to be able to think of what can we do for someone else or some other group in order to be able to enhance and deepen the social contract between all of us. So remember the Choctaw people, and remember the people of Ireland. Remember what they created in 1847 and how they did it. And let's remember to use that example for ourselves. I wish you all a wonderful day.